The spaceship glided slowly through the swirling colors of the nebula. Inside, Ethan checked his equipment one last time. He was a young human pilot, chosen for a special mission. This was no ordinary trip. Ethan was heading to the planet Zerelia, a place known for its ancient alien culture and proud rulers. Ethan had heard many stories about Zerelia before. It was ruled by a young alien princess named Lyra, famous across the galaxy for her beauty and strength. The mission was simple in words, but difficult in meaning. Ethan was to deliver a message of peace and friendship from Earth to Lyra's kingdom. Many alien worlds had not trusted humans before, but this time, Earth hoped to change that. As Ethan's ship entered the bright blue atmosphere of Zerelia, we could see the great palace rising from the ground like a mountain made of shining crystal. The palace was enormous, with towers reaching high into the sky. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He was about to meet a royal alien for the first time. The ship landed softly near the palace gates. Guards in shimmering armor stood silent, watching Ethan carefully. They moved aside only after a moment, letting him pass. Inside, the halls were wide and filled with soft lights. Alien paintings decorated the walls, showing scenes of history and legend soon. Ethan was brought before Princess Lyra herself. She stood tall and graceful, her skin a soft pale blue, and her large eyes bright with curiosity. Long hair flowed like a river of silver. Ethan noticed the delicate jewelry she wore, simple yet elegant, fitting for a royal. The room was quiet. The air was thick with formality and silence. Ethan took a deep breath. He knew that in many cultures, such meetings were filled with stiff words and cold manners. But Ethan wanted to be different. He smiled gently and said, "Hey, sweetie." For a moment, the room seemed to freeze. The guards blinked in surprise. Princess Lyra's cheeks turned a soft pink, a blush no one had seen before on her proud face. Then, after a brief pause, she looked at Ethan with wide eyes and replied softly, "Yes, darling." Then both of them laughed, a real warm laugh that filled the room with life. The laughter broke the cold formality and created a small bridge between two very different worlds. After that moment, the mood changed. Lyra's lips curled into a smile, and Ethan felt more at ease. He realized that sometimes kindness and humor could open doors that rules and protocol could not. They began to talk. Lyra asked about Earth and its people, curious about the stories Ethan shared. Ethan listened carefully as she spoke of Zerelia's history and her role as a princess. Despite their differences, they found common ground, dreams, hopes, the desire for peace. The meeting lasted for hours. Ethan learned that Lyra was not just a ruler, but a young woman with fears and hopes like any human. She wanted to lead her people well, but felt the heavy weight of expectations. Before Ethan left, Lyra gave him a small token, a pendant shaped like a star. "For luck," she said with a shy smile. Ethan smiled back. "I think it's already working." As Ethan returned to his ship, he looked back at the palace shining under the twin moons. He knew this was just the beginning of something new and unexpected. A friendship had started, born from a simple greeting and a shared laugh. The stars outside the window seemed to shine a little brighter. After the meeting with Princess Lyra, Ethan found himself thinking about Zerelia all the time. The planet was strange but beautiful, with wide forests of glowing plants and tall mountains that touched the clouds. Ethan knew his mission was important, but he also felt something deeper growing inside him. Curiosity about Lyra and her people. A few days later, Ethan received an unexpected invitation. Princess Lyra asked him to visit the palace again. This time, not as a guest, but to spend time with her. Ethan was surprised but happy. He accepted quickly. When he arrived, Lyra was waiting for him in the great garden. The air was filled with the sweet smell of alien flowers, and soft lights floated in the air like tiny stars. Ethan noticed how different Zerelia was from Earth, but also how alive and peaceful it felt here. "Welcome back, Ethan," Lyra said with a gentle smile. "I want you to see more of my world." They walked together through the garden, and Lyra began to explain the customs of her people. She told Ethan about their rituals, their love for nature, and the importance of honor and respect in their culture. Ethan listened carefully. fascinated by everything he learned. On Zorelia, we believe every living thing has a spirit, Lyra said softly. Our ancestors taught us to live in balance with the land and the stars. Ethan nodded. That sounds beautiful. On Earth, we try to do the same, but it is not always easy. They talked for hours, sharing stories from their worlds. Ethan told Lyra about Earth's busy cities, simple joys like music and laughter, and the endless sky filled with stars they both loved. Lyra shared tales of her childhood, her training as a leader, and the challenges she faced as a princess. During their talks, Ethan noticed Lyra's blushes when he teased her gently or made a funny comment. Each time her smile grew warmer and their friendship deepened. One afternoon, Lyra invited Ethan to meet her closest friends and advisors. They were surprised at first to see a human so close to the princess, but they quickly warmed to Ethan's honest and kind nature. Ethan shared jokes and stories, and soon the room was filled with laughter. But not all was peaceful on Zorelia. Rumors had started to spread about a growing threat from a neighboring star system. A group known as the Dark Rathans wanted to control Zorelia's resources and power. The palace was preparing for possible conflict, but Lyra felt unsure about what to do. Ethan saw the worry behind her strong eyes. He wanted to help. You don't have to face this alone, he said quietly. Humans have faced many dangers too, and sometimes working together is the best way to stay safe. Lyra looked at him with hope. I have never met a human like you before, Ethan. Your friendship means more than you know. Over the next days, Ethan and Lyra spent time planning. Ethan shared ideas from human tactics, and Lyra taught him about the strengths of her people. Together, they began to prepare for the coming storm, building trust and respect. One evening, while they watched the twin moons rise over the palace, Ethan smiled and said softly, "Hey, sweetie." Lyra laughed, her cheeks turning pink again. "Yes, darling." They shared a quiet moment, the world around them fading away. For a moment, they were not a human pilot and an alien princess. But to friends who found joy in simple words and laughter, as the stars twinkled above, Ethan knew their journey was just beginning. No matter what challenges came, they would face. The peaceful days on Zorelia were about to change. Word came fast. The Dark Rathans were moving closer. Their ships, dark and sharp like claws, crossed the stars toward the planet. Lyra's advisors gathered in the Great Hall, voices low with worry. Princess Lyra stood tall, but Ethan could see the weight on her shoulders. She was young but strong, and the fate of her people rested on her decisions. Ethan was there too, watching and learning quickly. He felt ready to help. We must protect Zorelia, Lyra said, her voice clear and firm. But violence is not the only answer. We must be smart. Ethan nodded. Humans have faced enemies before. Sometimes it's about being clever, not just strong. They work together to plan defenses. Ethan shared human tactics, using the environment to their advantage, setting traps, and surprising the enemy. Lyra combined this with her people's advanced technology and knowledge of the planet's terrain. As preparations began, Ethan and Lyra spent more time together. They trained, talked, and laughed, their friendship growing deeper. Ethan admired Lyra's courage, and Lyra appreciated Ethan's calm and steady spirit. One day, while practicing maneuvers in the palace training grounds, Ethan said softly, "Hey, sweetie." Lyra blushed but smiled brightly. "Yes, darling." Playful words were a secret between them. A small light in the growing darkness. Then came the first attack. Dark Rathan ships appeared on the horizon, firing powerful weapons that shook the ground. The palace defenses held, but the battle was fierce. Ethan found himself in the heart of the fight, using his skills to guide the palace fleet and help protect the planet. Amidst the chaos, Ethan and Lyra stayed close, trusting each other completely. Lyra commanded with skill, inspiring her people to fight for their home. During a moment of calm, Lyra looked at Ethan. "I never thought I could feel this safe with a human." Ethan smiled. "And I never thought I'd fight beside a princess." The battles continued, but Ethan and Lyra's teamwork turned the tide. The Dark Rathans grew frustrated, unable to break the planet's defenses. One night, as the stars shone above the war-torn land, Ethan and Lyra sat together, tired but hopeful. "Thank you for being here," Lyra said softly. "I'm not going anywhere," Ethan replied. "We'll get through this together." They laughed quietly, the sound a small victory in the dark. The war was not over, but hope had returned. And with it, a promise, no matter what the future held. Ethan and Lyra would face it side by side, their bond stronger than ever. The attack on Zorelia grew stronger with each passing day. The Dark Rathans were determined to take the planet. The palace was no longer a safe place. Princess Lyra and Ethan knew they had to move quickly. One evening, as the red sun set behind the distant mountains, Lyra looked out over the palace walls. Her face was calm, but her eyes held worry. Ethan stood beside her, ready to help. "We need to find a way out," Lyra said softly. "The palace is surrounded, and many people are in danger." Ethan nodded. "I know a secret path through the old forest. It's dangerous, but it might be our best chance." Together, they gathered a small group of trusted friends and prepared. To escape, the air was heavy with tension, but also with hope. As they moved through the dark forest, strange sounds echoed around them. Alien creatures watched silently from the shadows. The trees were tall and thick, blocking the moonlight. Every step was careful, every breath quiet. Ethan led the way, using his human senses to spot hidden dangers. Lyra followed closely, her sharp eyes alert to every movement. They reached a narrow canyon, where the only way forward was a thin path along the edge of a cliff. One wrong step could mean falling into the deep ravine below. "Stay close," Ethan whispered. "We have to be careful?" The group moved slowly, helping each other. Lyra's hand brushed Ethan's, and she smiled, a small moment of comfort in the dark. Suddenly they heard a loud noise behind them. Dark Rathan scouts had found their trail. "We have to hurry," Lyra said. They ran as fast as they could, dodging branches and rocks. Ethan's heart pounded, but he stayed focused on protecting the group. After a tense chase, they reached a hidden cave. It was cold and damp, but safe for now. Inside, Lyra finally allowed herself to rest. She looked at Ethan and said quietly, "Thank you for saving us." Ethan smiled. "We save each other." As they waited for the danger to pass, Lyra shared a secret with Ethan. She told him about the arranged marriage her people wanted for her, a political move she never wanted. "I want to choose my own path," she said, eyes shining with hope. "And maybe to find true friendship." Ethan reached out and took her hand gently. "You have that with me, Lyra, no matter what happens?" They laughed softly, the tension easing between them. The night passed slowly, and as dawn came, they prepared to continue. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Ethan and Lyra knew they would face it together. Their escape was not just from danger, was the start of a new bond, stronger than any. The sun rose over the quiet hills surrounding the hidden cave. Ethan and Lyra, along with their small group, prepared to leave. The Dark Rathans still searched for them, but hope burned brightly in their hearts. "We can't go back to the palace," Lyra said firmly. "We need allies, friends who believe in peace." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, there's a settlement nearby. Humans and aliens live there together. They might help us." The journey to the settlement was long and filled with dangers. Strange creatures roamed the forests, and the Dark Rathan patrols were always close behind. But Ethan's skills and Lyra's knowledge guided them safely through the wild lands. When they finally reached the settlement, it was a surprising sight. People from many worlds lived and worked side by side. Children laughed and played, and merchants traded goods in colorful markets. Lyra felt a strange warmth. This place was different, full of hope and friendship. They were welcomed by the settlement leader, a wise alien named Cora. She listened carefully to Lyra's story and Ethan's plans. "Your people have suffered much," Cora said kindly. "But if you stand together, you can be strong." Together, they began to prepare for the final fight. The settlement's people shared weapons, food, and knowledge. Ethan trained the defenders in human tactics, while Lyra inspired them with her courage. During the preparations, Ethan and Lyra grew closer. One evening, as they watched the stars, Ethan said softly, "Hey, sweetie." Lyra blushed and smiled. "Yes, darling." Their playful words were a quiet reminder of the friendship and trust that kept them strong. The day of battle came quickly. Dark Rathone forces attacked the settlement with fierce determination, but Ethan, Lyra, and their new allies were ready. The fight was hard and long. Weapons flashed, and the ground shook with explosions. Ethan flew his small ship skillfully, striking at the enemy's weak points. Lyra led ground forces, her voice strong and commanding. Through it all, they fought side by side, their bond a symbol of hope for everyone. When the last Dark Rathan ship was defeated, cheers rose from the defenders. The settlement was safe. Lyra turned to Ethan, her eyes shining. "We did it together." Ethan smiled. "This is only the beginning." They knew challenges still waited, but with friendship and courage they could face anything. As the stars twinkled above, Ethan and Lyra laughed softly, their hearts full of hope. Peace returned slowly to Zorelia. The Dark Rathans had been pushed back, their threat no longer hanging over the planet like a dark cloud. The people began to rebuild, their hopes stronger than ever. Princess Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The bright colors of the market below filled the air with life and joy. Beside her, Ethan smiled quietly, feeling proud to be part of this new chapter. "It's different now," Lyra said softly. "I can lead my people with freedom, not just by tradition but by choice." Ethan looked at her with respect. "You earned that freedom, and you showed everyone that friendship can change the galaxy." The bond between them had grown deeper through every challenge. Their playful greetings, "Hey, sweetie," and "Yes, darling," were no longer just words. They were symbols of a new beginning between their worlds. But life was not without its tests. Some still doubted the friendship between human and alien. Lyra faced hard questions from her council, who worried about change. Ethan stood beside her. In those moments, offering support and calm. "Change is never easy," he said, "but sometimes it's the only way to grow." Together they worked to bring peace not only to Zorelia, but to the whole region. Lyra's leadership, combined with Ethan's courage and ideas, inspired many to believe in a better future one day. During a ceremony to celebrate the new alliance between humans and Zorelians, Lyra spoke before a crowd of thousands. Double quotes today. "We start a new story," she said. "A story of trust, friendship, and hope. We are different, but together we are strong." The crowd cheered, and Ethan felt a warm glow inside. After the ceremony, as the sun set behind the mountains, Ethan turned to Lyra with a smile. "Hey, sweetie," he said softly. Lyra blushed, her eyes shining with happiness. "Yes, darling." They laughed together, a sound full of joy and promise. Their journey had begun with a simple greeting and a shared laugh. Now it was a story told across the stars of how two very different people built a friendship that changed their worlds forever. And as they looked up at the bright sky, Ethan and Lyra knew one thing for sure. Whatever the future held, they would face it side by side, with laughter and love lighting their way.